who is not waiting for the economic times to announce that the greatest opportunity has arrived on page number 1. When it happens, the entrepreneurial opportunity is not an opportunity anymore. An entrepreneur is one who is looking at the nooks and corners and crevices and going and creating that into a large enterprise. If you take the story of Microsoft, Dell, Infosys, Reliance, even Career Launcher, I think the entrepreneurial opportunity was invisible. The entrepreneurial opportunity was so small, so minuscule, that every reasonable, educated, analytical guy would kill you for saying loudly that there's an opportunity. He actually looks at you as a jihadi, as a mad guy who has no brains. That's part 1 of the phrase. Part 2 of the phrase is higher education. And this is where I would go back and pick another important aspect of entrepreneurship. The most fundamental rule that I have known as an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur for the last 17, 18 years, is that the only mindset an entrepreneur must have is that he or she will not have a mindset. Unfortunately, our daily life, we deal in things in such a pattern, in such repetitive patterns, that it clearly divides life into 4 or 5 or 3 or 7 boxes, and that leaves us with very little scope to be creative about it. And that, what I am saying, is captured in the theme where we are saying entrepreneurial opportunities in higher education. We have divided life as, primary education, secondary education, higher education. So we've covered education spectrum. Unfortunately, 500 million Indians will not be covered by this definition of life. We need to create at least a 4th box if we are very, very pattern specific, saying that there is something called further education. We have abused and misused vocational education to the point where it has become completely dysfunctional. It doesn't operate. Vocational education doesn't invoke in our minds the reasonably well worked ecosystem of community colleges in the US, or the shop in Germany, or the way employability is worked in developed economies like Western Europe, New Zealand, Australia. The retail industry is the finest in New Zealand, anywhere you go in the world. It's not even in the US. So when I'm looking at this theme, I somehow am tempted to look at the core issue without getting lost in the jargon or the language, so that we are very, very relevant to the problem on hand. And entrepreneurship to me is about solving a problem. And India currently is facing a problem. And I am not going to limit myself only to Kerala. Though I come from this state, the insight that I have of this state is much less than a few other states. But I would look at it on a larger canvas called India, and how entrepreneurs are working away at it silently while we are having a conference here. He doesn't want us to announce that, oh, we are a breakthrough this evening. There are lots of them working away there. Now, our gross enrollment ratio, the government says they are going to aim at 20%. They are going to aim at 20% in 2020. Currently, we are at 7-8%, which means what? It sounds like it is a jargon, gross enrollment ratio, which means a child that enters school at the age of 4 or 5, out of 100 children who enter there, 92 will have fallen off the mainstream by the time the 8 children go into a college. So where are these children going? The problem is as simple as that. So are we a very bad country that 92 children are falling off? We are letting them fall off? What happens in the US? What happens in Germany? What happens in New Zealand? What happens in Austria? Reasonably high amount fall off. So if we get to 21%, we would be among the leading countries as far as GER is concerned. But that's not the point. We are kind of doing a lot of magic there. The point is, in those countries, the children who are falling off the higher education radar are getting captured in a parallel ecosystem called further education. Beginning grade 6 in school, grade 9 in school, they are getting into equally wonderful education institutions that is teaching them how to become a good carpenter, how to become a good driver, diesel mechanic, mobile mechanic, mason, whatever. A driver in the US, a trucker in the US earns $65,000. Our software engineers go and earn similar amount of money. Okay. Of course, others earn it at the age of 27, and then by the time he gets to 40, he becomes a top shot. That's another part of the story. I'm not trying to belittle the core part of higher education. But our ecosystem there is non-existent. And for someone like you, sir, it's such a tremendous track record. I would really urge upon you to experiment with the models in entrepreneurship itself. We have steered completely clear of NSDC. They're still trying to figure out their own spellings. Okay? They are at best going to be an ASCOM. But as an entrepreneur, I have no time to wait for NSDC to figure out. So this year, as we speak, at CL, we are training 32,000 people to become carpenters, beauticians. The girl becomes, she does the henna. When you go to Mandvi, our center in interior Gujarat, at Chhattisgarh, for the tribal girls, we are letting them stitch their skirts, tying up with a fashion designer called Manish Malhotra, who does for Bollywood. Mijwan, where from Kafi Azmi Sahab comes the great poet, his daughter Shabana Azmi is doing it. We had a India Fashion Week last week in Delhi. So those poor girls, they did the fashion clothes which were owned by the top models of the country. The show was done by Manish Malhotra, and the money that was raised from that event was 30 lakh of rupees, which went back to Mijwan, to the girls' school, which did not have support from the government or any entrepreneur for the last 5 years. Magic is happening out there. Nobody is waiting for anybody to do. And I'm the last guy to blame the government. I run a company, and I know how challenging it is to run my own company that I founded. Because once it gets to 1,000 people, you can't order people around. You want to take people along. And I can imagine what a very, very honest, upright officer, what he would be facing inside the government. We are very notorious for not paying a rupee of bribe, career launcher. 11 crores of our rupees is the income tax department. It keeps coming in installments. We pay this, they pay that back. But the number of fantastic bureaucrats that I've seen, policymakers that I've seen, is not small. We're working with 7 state governments, and I would want you to understand this problem of higher education. Higher education, take this off the table. It's 8%. The kid whose bride wants to go to an IIT, go to an IIT. You and I can't stop him. And that's not going to change India. You take this 8% off, the 92% is our challenge. And that's called further education. You could call it vocational education. You could call it employment education. Call it what you want. Today the reality is that 90% of engineering college students can't come, stand here, sit for an interview and get a good software job.